uh, and then later on we'll do Q&A. So Amy's going to talk for about 20 or so minutes, and then we'll do questions and answers, and we'll go from there. So it's a recording now. Welcome, everybody. 𝘠𝘠𝘐𝘵 here, brand partner with 𝘲𝘳𝘴, along with Amy and Bob. And we're with a house full of people who are going to learn something pretty amazing from Amy. So without me talking anymore, I'm going to hand it over to you, Amy, and I'm just going to mute the crowd so we could all listen to you intently. It's all yours, Amy.
Well, thank you, Drew. Appreciate you having me on again today. I was on a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed my time, and a lot of people got a lot out of it. So we decided to do round two. So yeah, my name is Amy, and I am a registered nurse of 41 years. Most of those years were in hospice and palliative care. I actually started off in cancer research at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. I actually did cancer and HIV research, and then got married, got divorced, came back to Charlottesville, Virginia, my hometown, and I've been here ever since. And worked as the on-call coordinator for local hospice here and coordinated after-hours care, which was from 5 at night till 8:30 in the morning. So there were some long shifts in 6 counties. So I loved what I did. Absolutely. It was a calling for sure, but boy, was it tiring. And so, needless to say, like many nurses, they get burned out, and they don't necessarily get burned out on the patients. They get burned out on the hours. They get burned out on not being able to take a vacation when they want to take a vacation, get permission, if you will. People calling in sick, so they got to work double. Nurses really take the brunt. Um, so in 2011, I had been here back home since 2001, working as a hospice nurse. And 2011, I went to the doctor with some problems, that were concerning to me. And so they did a workup and come to find out that there were some not so good cells in my body. And as a hospice nurse, I knew what that entailed. So I kind of had a little freak out moment. And I'm a firm believer in signs, signs happening for a reason. And the key is you got to listen to those signs. And 2 days after I got the bad news, I got a phone call from a colleague of mine that I worked with in the mid 90s, Dr. David Silverman, 2 days after, and he called to tell me about this technology that sounded way too good to be true. I kind of felt like, why are you calling me? I haven't talked to you in 10 years. What are you trying to sell me? And I wasn't very nice. And to this day, I always tell people if he would have hung up the phone on me, which he should have, I wouldn't be here today. And that is the truth. So I listened to him, and he never really told me what it was. And he got my attention when he said, I don't really know much about this because the company just came out in 2010. He said, but I used my father as a guinea pig, and that got my attention. And David didn't know what was going on with me. And he said, yeah, I used my dad had pretty serious health issues, and he tried this technology of redox signaling on his dad. And his dad at the time was responded quite well and recovered nicely. I will say before we continue on this call to make the disclaimer that we are not here to diagnose, treat, prevent any illness. We're not making medical claims. And that's why a lot of times you'll hear us dance around the name of a diagnosis because that would be making a medical claim. I just wanted to get that homework off the table. So after he told me about his dad, I was intrigued, and I expressed to him the news that I had gotten 2 days later, and he knew I was a hospice nurse. And I said, will this help? And he said, I don't know. He said, but it can't hurt. It helped my dad. And I thought, well, I've been pretty much given bad news that, could potentially have been life limiting, and I had nothing to lose. So I went ahead and it is distributed through network marketing, and I'll get through that in a minute when I talk about the company in a bit. But so I went ahead, I became a brand partner, but I made very clear to David that I was not interested in doing the business. I was very happy with my job as a hospice nurse, and he was cool with that. So I got some cases of the redox, and for the life of me, I didn't bring a bottle in here. Bob's got one, I'm sure. So there it is, that beautiful blue bottle. Thank you, Bob. So anyway, so I ordered some of those beautiful blue bottles. Little did I know how beautiful they were when they came, and I started drinking it. And, initially, and actually, I don't tell this a lot in my story, but initially, when I started drinking it, it tasted horrible. It tasted like really pungent pool water. And, um, and I called David and I was like, this stuff tastes terrible. And he said, the worse it tastes, the more you need it. And I found that to be true. So I kept plugging along. I kept drinking a lot of water to flush all the bad stuff out of my system, and I was drinking this stuff. And then all of a sudden I woke up one day and it didn't taste bad anymore. It tastes just like regular water. So anyway, fast forward, I'm drinking it every day, drank pretty copious amounts of it. Um, and 6 months later, I went back for a follow-up, and the doctor called me the next day. They ran a test and to see if there were any bad cells. And the doctor called me the next day and he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, there's no bad cells anywhere in your body. And, I'll see you every 3 years for a scope. Now, you talk about doing a happy dance. I was so thrilled. I wanted to shout it from the mountaintops. Now, mind you, I signed up as a brand partner, but I had absolutely zero interest in sharing it with people. But after getting that news, I couldn't stop talking about it. And it was funny because nobody said no to me. I mean, every single person that I shared my story with, they're like, where do I get this? My mom's got this. Will it help my brother? Will it help my sister? Will it help my uncle? And I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook. And I'm not kidding you. And but I still didn't want to do the business, but I would sign them up and get them started. And then they started telling people. And anyway, long story short, I fell into the business by accident. And that was in 2011. And I was able to retire from being a hospice nurse. Not that I didn't like it, but I just like the time freedom of this in 2015. So I left my job in 2015. So it was 4 years in. I'm perfectly fine today. I go and get scoped every 3 years, and I continue to share this with people. It becomes a moral obligation, especially as a nurse. Um, I just couldn't keep this a secret. Why would I not tell somebody about something that could dramatically impact their life? So that's my story there. So let me talk a little bit about the company. I had been in network marketing before, back with David, Dr. Silverman, and it just wasn't my thing. The company wasn't great. It wasn't a wow product, and I just got my feet wet, and then I jumped ship and was happy being a nurse. Never really had a desire to go back to the industry of network marketing. Then, so the company, was founded by a gentleman by the name of Verdis Norton. Now, Verdis was the chief of Kraft Foods. He was a millionaire. He was a very, very successful businessman, very well liked in the business world. And somebody approached him about, and back then they would call 𝘲𝘳𝘴 the stuff because it didn't have a name. And they called to see if he would be willing to put in $1 million in research to see if this stuff was was any good, or if we could stabilize it outside the body in a bioactive form, which back then we couldn't. It was fleeting, so you couldn't do that. And so he went ahead and he put the money in for research, and he got all the books out, and um the chemistry books. And there is a video on YouTube. If you Google on YouTube, 𝘲𝘳𝘴, the Genesis video, it's 16 minutes long. It's a profound, profound video. And maybe Bob or Drew, you can find it and put it in the chat. Um, so, so this was the story about how 𝘲𝘳𝘴 came to be. So they finally were able to stabilize this product outside the body in a bioactive form. And they actually originally packaged it, funny enough, in a glass mason jar, which, back then that's kind of what people put moonshine in. So it was kind of a joke that it was moonshine it's just a funny story. I love the story because it's just the evolution is heartwarming. So they weren't sure if this stuff really worked. And mind you, it didn't have a name then. And so they were very active in their church, and they gave it to about 40 people in their church, people that had some serious, serious illnesses. And of those 40 people, they shared it in like 120 countries, with to 35 other people. So it clearly was word of mouth. And all of these people had a perceived benefit from this stuff. So they ended up naming it 𝘲𝘴𝘴, and they weren't sure how to market it. But so they were thinking, well, you can't really put this stuff on the shelf of a health food store, because if you look at the back of the bottle, it says salt and water. And nobody's going to know what that does. It is a cell signaling supplement, which I'll talk about the science in a minute. And it requires an education. So because these people from the church told people, and they told people, they said, well, let's go look into the network marketing distribution model. And so they brought in some experts, and they made the company a network marketing company, which came to be in 2010. So I joined 1 year after. So I've pretty much been on since the beginning. Lots and lots of changes have happened with this company. Amazing changes. I mean, this technology will be a household name. It's already becoming a household name, but in in years to come, way before, way after I'm gone, everybody will have this in their house. The beautiful thing about it is, because it's made of sodium and chloride, it is native to your body. Your body is full of little sacks of salt water. And scientifically, what these molecules do is they go in, will find a bad cell, and they will detect that bad cell, and they'll replace that cell with a brand new healthy cell. So there is a website that you can go on to, and Drew, if you want to put that in the chat, realredoxresults.com. Password is lowercase redox. And when you get to that website, at the very top left, and it's a brand new video recently shot by Alan Noble, an associate brand partner with 𝘲𝘴𝘴. He's from Ireland. He's pretty amazing. He gives a little brief overview for somebody that doesn't know anything about it. It's very helpful, and it's very concise. And then on the left, there is a menu, and like I said, we don't name the names of diseases. So for example, you'll see GI, you'll see hormones, you'll see discomfort, you'll see spectrum behavior, And you can click on those and you can see video testimonials. My personal testimonial is under hormones and esophagus, and it's number 122. And Bob, your testimonial is number, you're muted. Oh, you can't unmute. Okay. Put it in the chat, Bob.
90
Okay. Number 90, Bob's
under
testimonial.
neurological.
Yeah.
Well, I'm under a couple, but that's the main one.
Yeah, and before we end this call, I'm going to have Bob jump back on and tell his story. But anyway, that's a great site that just kind of piques people's interest. And, people say, well, what about this? What about that? And I said, just go to this website. So you don't have to really do a lot of explaining, which is really super nice. So getting back to how they distribute it. So they decided to go the network marketing route. And when I first got into the company, we were only in the United States. It was a big deal when we went to Mexico. I remember that. And Canada was first and then Mexico. And now we're in 35 countries, which is pretty amazing. And I think we're working on getting into India. So that's huge, really huge. I have a huge team in Asia, of which I've met them since, but I didn't know them before because somebody here in Virginia told somebody in Asia, and they ended up being in my organization. And so that's how this works. You might not know the people that are on your team, but the thing that I love most about it is, other than the time freedom, is the fact that I've changed hundreds of thousands of lives just by telling one person. And as a nurse, that makes me feel really, really good because that's why I went into nursing. Um, so so that's a little bit about the science, in a nutshell. So Bob, do you want to share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, I will. I mean, before we go there, why don't you give them a little insight to what happened in your business? Because if I remember correctly, you took off for a little bit of time in it. That part of your story is important because there are people probably here that have no idea the power of network marketing and why we get so excited about it. And I think your story tells it clearly.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, I don't really talk about that much only because I feel like, I don't know, I'm so excited to help people, but it is a very monumental part of my story. Network marketing is a viable and wonderful industry if you find the right company. And 𝘲𝘳 is the right company for sure. I mean, we are all about helping people. And right around 2015, right when I retired from being a nurse, I had some family issues that I had to tend to, and I called Dr. 𝘲𝘲𝘴𝘰 and I said, I am going to be out of pocket. I'm not going to be able to work with my team. I'm not going to be able to help with three-way phone calls or anything. I'm not going to be able to go to any events. I'm going to be out of pocket, and I don't know for how long. Well, that ended up being 3 years. Now, mind you, every Friday we get paid via direct deposit in our bank account. So it's nice. And they actually let us know on Tuesday how much we're going to make on Friday. And every Friday. So I get paid 4 times a month. And of course, that's the first thing we do is we go pay our bills on Friday. And so every Friday when I went in to check my back office, my checks kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean bigger, not just $5 bigger. And I was like, wow. So, and I wasn't doing the business, and I wasn't one of those people that, was really all that into rank and being at the top of the company. That just wasn't me. And it still isn't me. Many people will tell you that Amy's just salt of the earth wanting to help people. But so that was pretty awesome. So I came back 3 years later in about 2018, and was great to see everybody. I went to my first event in 2019 since I had left. And when I got back from that event, I was checking my back office on a Friday, which we do. And I was sitting in the parking lot waiting to go in for an appointment. I was a few minutes early. And I looked in my back office. You know, we always check our numbers. And it said that I had gone up to an esteemed rank of triple diamond. Not that that means anything to anybody. Didn't mean anything to me either until it happened, but I wasn't striving for it by any means. And so I called David, Dr. Silverman, and I called him up and I had just woken him up and he hadn't even gotten on the computer. And I said, David, I said, I think there's been a mistake. And he said, what's up, Aim? And I said, go and look in your back office. It says I'm a triple diamond. I don't think that's true because most people really work hard to get there, you know? So I was just going about doing my thing, sharing it with people, and it just organically grew. And he said, holy, you know what? And I was the first triple diamond in his company, in his downline. So I carry on, and what sets me apart from a lot of people, and Bob and Drew know this, is I will work with anybody in this company. You don't have to be in my organization for it. In other words, if you call me up, I'm not going to say, "Hey, I don't make money off you, Bob. Sorry, I'm not going to do a call for you." You know, so people call me all the time, you know, for being an expert, especially being a nurse. I have some credibility. And I just give a little brief education and 80% of the time that people come on board after that call. And third party validation is really important because your friends are going to look at you like you got three heads, and when people ask me, and I do have a sense of humor uh, on many fronts, but so people ask me, what do you do for a living? And I say, well, I sell salt water from Salt Lake City. And so that gets their attention. They ask a question at least, right? So anyway, but thank you, Bob, for that. Yes, I don't share that much because I just feel like it's being boastful. I don't know. It's just, but
Yeah, but it shows the power
yeah,
of the duplication and the
yeah,
leverage of the business, and
yeah,
you just don't know. And I tell people I deal with all the time, you don't know who you're going to bump into because that person can lead you to somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. It's like the commercial, and all of a sudden, boom,
yeah,
you wake up one morning and your business looks a whole lot different.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, with that being said, Bob, would you mind sharing your story?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I am Bob Hayak. I am out of Port St. Lucie, Florida. My wife Vivian and I have been with 𝘕𝘶 now since 2020. I got involved with the company in 2020 because of a Zoom call, just like we're on now. At that time, I had just opened up a company called Financial Independence LLC, and I was helping people get out of debt, credit card debt, mortgages, student loans, all that kind of stuff. We were doing live networking events. Everything was good. Unfortunately, at that time, COVID hit and it just shut us down. And it forced me on Zoom like every other business. And I, I can almost swear it was one of the first calls I was on out of Colorado. Um, and the guy that invited me on it, I was talking to him, and beforehand I said, yeah, I was in the Everglades fishing with my fishing guy, and I had to cut my trip short because my shoulder locked. And there just happened to be a girl on the call. She's like, oh, I got a great product for you. It's got a 30-day money back guarantee and it won't hurt you. I said, really? Is it a network marketing company? She's like, yep. I said, no, thank you. Bye-bye. And I just blew her off. And I did it only because I was trying to figure out how to keep financial independence going because I just opened it a year prior. Wasn't, important. I've been in business since 1993, so it wasn't crucial, but I was having fun. I was trying to figure it out. But every month or every week of the next 2 months, she came on the call and asked me how the shoulder was. When I finally had an MRI of my left shoulder, I called her up because the orthopedic wanted to go in. I wasn't ready for surgery. I said, Lisa, you seem very adamant you have something that can help me. And she said, yes. And she introduced me to the water at that time. And then she introduced me to Renew 28. She goes, buy a case of water and a tube of gel. So I did. I got the stuff. I called her up. I said, now what do I do? She goes, rate the discomfort in your shoulder from 1 to 10. I said, 10, Lisa. I can't move my elbow off my body. I couldn't move it. It was basically frozen. She says, apply the gel 3 times in 5 minutes to your shoulder. That's when I started laughing. I'm like, Lisa, what are you talking about? She goes, put it on, let it dry, put it on, let it dry, put it on. I said, really? I said, I don't smell it. I don't feel it. And whatever heck I put on my shoulder, it disappeared. So she goes, okay, just wait. I said, wait for what? And we just kept talking. Less than 10 minutes, I don't know what possessed me to do it. But when I went like that, I went, you got to be kidding me. How is it possible? I could not move my shoulder. Now I got motion in my shoulder. She goes, I told you so. I said, no, Lisa, it's not going to work that easy. I said, I need to talk to somebody. So again, she introduces me to Dr. David Silverman. And I explained to him I used the gel 3, 4, 5 days, got great motion in my shoulder, virtually no discomfort. But that wasn't my problem. See, what Lisa didn't know at that time, my kidneys were basically in renal failure. My liver enzymes were 4 times what they were supposed to be. I was taking 1,200 milligrams of gabapentin just to put my feet on the floor. It wasn't working. I was taking 300 milligrams of Wellbutrin to offset a shot I took on Thursday nights for the neurological disorder that I had. I took uroxetrol because I held 2 to 3 ounces of fluid in my bladder. I was up 2, 3, 4 times a night going to the bathroom. Headaches 2 to 3 times a week. I was a mess. I am glad to tell you that all of that is gone. It is just absolutely blows my mind because my dad, God rest his soul, he had the same neurological disorder. He passed away at the age of 56. He lived the last 15 years of his life in a VA hospital in East Orange, New Jersey. He couldn't walk, talk, or eat. He had 6 kids. I was the lucky one. So when I got diagnosed in 2009, when, like Amy said, her world was upside down, my whole I didn't know what to think because I just remembered picking up my father, putting him on the kitchen table and cleaning him like a baby as a teenager. So when I started to see what this stuff did, and like Amy said, they called it stuff, and I even called it stuff when I got it because I didn't believe it. But I went to Dr. Silva. I said, all right, what do I do? What do I drink? How do I do it? He says, you want to take 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces at night. I said, really? That's all? He goes, well, you could do more, but you're going to detox. I said, well, tell me about that. What does that mean? He goes, well, what it means is that all the toxins that are in your cells will get pushed into your bloodstream. And if you don't drink enough liquid, water, to flush it out, you can have cramping, maybe a headache, this, that, or whatever. I said, okay, so it's not permanent. It's just, I got to go through that so I can drink more to get to where I want to be. He goes, yeah. So we started, my wife and I started. I think the second or third day in, we're calling Dr. Silverman because she's bent over and like, I got to go to the hospital kind of thing. And he's like, do you drink water? And she's like, no. He goes, you need to drink water. So she started drinking water. Within half hour later, she was okay. But I was up to 8 ounces within the 4th day. When I woke up that day, I went to Vivian and I said, something's not right here. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I feel like I was living in black and white and somebody just went into my brain, flipped the switch, and now I'm in 4K. My brain is so crystal clear. The fog was I just didn't realize how bad of a fog I was in. So I just kept on my protocol and little by little things would change. And when they would change, I go to my doctor, I say, this is what's going on. I want to stop this one, that one, whatever. And they'd argue, but it's all gone. Even my neurological medication that I took since 2009 is gone. I don't take it. I have no reason to. So the thing is, things happen, like Amy said, for a reason. An angel came into my life one day and she introduced me to something that was so powerful. It blew my mind. And I call her an angel because she was. If it wasn't for her, I don't know where I'd be because I wouldn't have had the chance to change my health. I mean, Vertis always said the gift is not this. This isn't the gift. The gift is the person that had the courage to open their mouth and tell you about it. That's the gift. So just give them the information. What they do with it, that's their choice. There's no reason to get upset or whatever. Just let them go. You know, if they take it, great. If not, at least you could say, I gave you a shot. I told you about it. You know, I can't blame myself.
I
And
love
that's my
it.
story, and I'm sticking to it.
I absolutely love your story, Bob. Yeah, I I say it 1,000 times. David Silverman should have hung up the phone on me. And David was a podiatrist, foot surgeon. And when he learned about ASEA, right when I learned about it in 2011, he came into this full force, and he actually retired as a doctor. He's on the medical board, which is a volunteer position of ASEA. And he goes to Asia, he goes everywhere. We are so lucky to have him as a leader, for sure. But one thing I forgot to say, and I realized I forgot to say it on the last call, and I didn't want to forget to say it now. But let me back up to the story about Virtus and, the head of Kraft Foods business guy. Well, the only reason that he put in the money for the research is this was going to be a business deal, and he was going to flip it. He was going to be like, okay, we're going to get this out there and we're going to sell the patents, and I'll walk away with a 8-figure check. I mean, you know what an 8-figure check is, and that'll be a great deal for me to make some money. Well, once he found out through his church that people were sharing it, that was intriguing to him. So Big Pharma comes to the table, big board table, and it's in the video, the Genesis. It's quite impressive. And they come and they've got that checkbook right there. And they said to Virtus, we will write this check. And now, mind you, all these people were still taking the stuff in the mason jar. And Big Pharma said, we'll write this check under one condition. And Virtus said, what is that? And they said, everybody's got to stop drinking it. And Virtus's exact words were, that's kind of harsh. And he turned down that 8-figure check for the people. And that's what sets our company apart from any other company in the world, because we are heart driven. So I forgot to tell that. And that's probably one of the biggest parts of the story that I love, that, somebody walked away from billions of dollars for the people and took a risk. And so here we are, 15 years later, almost 16 now, and we are close to being $1 billion company. So, but anyway, so with that being said, do you want to open it up, Drew, for Q&A?
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions for Amy or Bob, by all means.
Can they unmute, Drew?
They can unmute themselves, of course.
I'm sure Team Cheney's got a question. All those people.
Don't be bashful.
Yeah, don't be bashful. Come on.
Let's go tell Amy your story.
In the back, I speak up, so.
You want?
No questions? Do I have to go up there?
No, Amy, we have Wes in the audience, brand new,
Brand new.
and he wants to just share something real quick, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Hey, Wes, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
can you see me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay, my story is, Lori introduced me to ASEA about a year ago. We were on vacation in the Bahamas. And, I was doing what I would say, okay, health-wise. I've had back issues for many years through the type of work that I did. But I didn't think too much about it because like I say, I was getting along through life, fishing, traveling, playing golf, all that. Well, October 4th of 2025, I was getting ready for a trip to Las Vegas with some golfing friends that I've been doing for 25 years. But I went to get up out of my recliner and I knew something was wrong. Something was really bad. So I had to make the calls to start canceling that I could not make the trip. Long story short, I ended up being bedridden for 5.5 months.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, the doctors had me on morphine. They had me on Percocet 3 times a day. They had me on uh, fentanyl
Good
pills.
Lord. Wow.
So my wife actually had met up with Lori, and Lori had kept telling her she wanted me to try this product. And at this point, I'm willing to try anything because now I had been putting off surgery for many years. Now surgery all of a sudden became an option. So my wife brings home the case, and she says, you know, I really want you to try this. And I thought, okay, why not? You know, I'll give it a try. So I did the 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces at night, faithfully, did not miss a dosage. And I woke up about 2 weeks in. I told my wife, I said, you know, my back feels better. I said, I don't know what it is, but my back feels better. By the next day, which was a Friday, I felt well enough. I said, let's try to walk around the block. And it's not a very big block. It's just a small little block. And we got about halfway, but now keep in mind, I've been in the house for 5.5 months. The only time I came outside was to go to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, and on every one of those appointments, I could not sit up in the car. I had to lay down in the back seat.
Wow.
That was to the appointment and home. So my back started feeling better. I might add also in all that time, I had a birthday where I turned 65. Should have been celebrating, but no, I was stuck in bed. Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of that. I couldn't sit up and eat dinner with my wife. I mean, I think I had 2 attempts at it and could barely get through the meal, and I had to go lay back down.
Wow.
So I started feeling better. The next day I said, let's try to walk around the block. Of course, we would run into a neighbor, and they hadn't seen me in, you know, all this time. And so they wanted to stand and talk and get back home. I had to lay down after standing for about 15, 20 minutes. The next day, Saturday, I made it around the block. By the time I got about 3 houses from the house, I was like, I was trucking, trying to get back to the house. I was still a little sore. But this was all, what, about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Something like that,
Wow.
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks, or it took you 1 month to hit your like glorious moment.
Yeah,
Or
well,
less.
it's not even a
Oh,
month,
up
2
2
weeks,
And
2 weeks of taking
He's in the
product.
15%.
Yeah, I started feeling better to the point. I'm back playing golf with my whole schedule that I used to, 3 times a week. I'm able to bend over, touch my toes. Raise up. My back actually feels better today than it's probably felt in 20 years.
Wow.
And, you know, me and my wife, we sat down, we tried to figure out, well, what am I doing different? And the only thing we could put our finger on was the 𝘕𝘶𝘳𝘴.
Yeah.
So people that know me know that I've been in bed, been in all this bad shape. They all want to jump on board. So I was like, okay, well, let me get signed up here.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of probably like a lot of people. I'm not trying to become a triple diamond or anything, but if I can help one person,
Yeah,
it's worth it to me.
yeah.
Because, you know, that's, why should I keep it to myself?
Amen.
You know, your story is amazing. And, you know, the biggest tool that we have, anybody, even if you don't want to do the business, is your story.
Right.
Because your story is going to pique somebody's interest who's had a back issue,
Right.
or they might say, you know, my brother's got a shoulder issue. And then you could say, hey, let me put you on the phone with Bob Hayek, you
Right.
know, and let Bob tell his story. I mean, I'm serious. That's what we call the third party validation. You know, like knowing you, I want to get your number because when I find somebody with a back problem, I want to call you.
Right.
So that's absolutely amazing. And you know, it just makes me smile. It makes my heart sing because I know what we have and you know what we have now. But I've seen miracles for 15 years.
Yeah.
You've only seen miracles for a couple months.
Right.
You know, you just wait. You wait until a lot of people say, and your first name is Wes, right?
Right.
Right. A lot of people are going to be like, if it weren't for Wes, I wouldn't be where I am today and I wouldn't feel so good. And isn't that a
Amen.
good feeling
Right.
when somebody says that to you?
Oh, I tell you, it's
You
given me
can't,
my life back.
you can't put a price tag on it. Yeah, it's given me my life back too. So thank you for sharing that, Wes. That's amazing. I look forward to getting to know you. Who'd you come under?
Lori.
Lori, over here.
Oh, there you are.
But here, I'll stand up. Yeah, hi.
Okay, awesome.
Listen, I'm
Well-
trying to get I have a son who's in palliative care. He's a nurse practitioner, and then his fiance, she's a palliative care doctor, and I've been trying to get them involved with ASEA because I see so many people that could definitely benefit from it. And my son cannot get past the detox. He's like, Mom, I have to take 2 weeks off work. And he's a very sensitive person that goes into like a diarrhea type thing. And I said, I just gotta get him through it. I mean, it's just, sometimes your family is hard to present things to. Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of like, when we were kids, we didn't like, if my mom made Brussels sprouts, I'd say, no way, I'm not eating those things. But then I can go to my friend's house for a sleepover and the mom makes Brussels sprouts and I think they're great.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, it'll happen.
it will, and I'm happy to help you because I was in hospice and palliative care.
Well, that's why eventually, I think we talked briefly once, that I
Yep.
want to get him to talk to you, and I'm just gonna have him at least share your testimony, because I have tried to do that with him. I'll just, when I go visit him, I'm just gonna pull up your testimony so he can at least see where you
Yeah.
came.
Absolutely. Maybe Don and Linda, we can schedule a Zoom with Lori and get a plan in place. I'm happy to help you. I could talk about this till the cows come home.
Yeah.
This is the greatest invention in medicine since penicillin, and I'm not kidding you when I say that. Speaking of which, here's another great analogy. People, not to get off your subject, Lori, but people, they're like, oh, that's just salt water. And I said, well, who would have thought that penicillin, which was discovered a little over 100 years ago, or 100 years ago, like 1925 or something, and penicillin came from bread mold.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that bread mold would cure an infection, right? And so I tell people this, and it's a fun thought. I tell people, I say, just imagine if penicillin was a network marketing company and you signed up, and every time any doctor in the whole wide world wrote a prescription, you got 1 penny. That's it, 1 penny. 100 years later, we would be triple trillionaires over and over, because word of mouth, that's how we do everything. I mean, people say, where's a good place to go get a good steak? Where's a place to go get a good perm? Where's a place to get my toes done? People ask people. And so I just find it natural for me. I don't come across as salesy at all because I just tell my story. I say, you want to hear a crazy story? And you get them excited. So anyway, I mean, you can tell I'm excited. I will always be excited. But anyway, anybody else have any questions? Because I don't want to keep you guys too long.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a granddaughter that has been making kidney stones since she was 14 years old.
Oh
She's
dear.
26 or 27. She went to a few different specialists and nobody has answers how to stop her from having all these kidney stones. She had one that was so big, she finally had to go into emergency, and then they blew some of it out, and then she got an infection and she almost died.
Mm.
So kind of afraid what to do because she's in a daycare and doesn't have a lot of money. But I wondered if this could possibly help her to stop making those kidney stones.
Well, and what's your first name again?
Joanne.
Joyam. Nice to meet you. I always tell people when people say, could it help with this? Could it help with that? Could it help with this? Not to sound arrogant, but I say, does it involve cells? And, this can help. Will it help with that? I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, it will. But I will say it can't hurt because this is native to your body. Your body already makes these redox signaling molecules. And as a matter of fact, if you want to go learn about it, here's a place for you to go, Joyam, is go to pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov, and in the search bar, just type redox signaling molecules, kidney stones, and just see what comes up. Now, that is a third-party site. That is not a corporate site. That's a government site through the NIH, National Institutes of Health, where I used to work. And I like that site because it's not our site, so it's sound science. And Drew put it in the chat. Thank you, Drew.
Yep.
They
So
went a little fast, that GOD, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch it.
PubMed.gov.
yeah, GOV. GOV is in Victor.
Not sure.
Okay, that looked like there were more.
Yeah. But because, it helps with children, it helps with animals. I give it to my animals. I have 4 animals, 2 big collies. They get it every day. Every day. And people are like, wow, your dogs look so healthy. There's no gray. They're getting old. They run. They're Lassie dogs. They look like Lassie. And it helps with everything. As a matter of fact, another side story for me, in 2004, which was way pre-ASEA, my father, 10 months prior to that, had died of bad cells in his thyroid. And so fast forward 10 months after he passed away, I went into the doctor because I was having these headaches and nobody could figure out what it was. And they did an MRI of my neck to see if maybe it was a pinched nerve in my neck. And it wasn't, but the addendum by the radiologist was addendum 4 masses on the thyroid. So this is 10 months after my dad died, and I've got the same thing that he does, just a different cell type. And so I had to have that removed. And so I had 60% of my thyroid removed, and I was put on Synthroid, thyroid replacement hormone. And so I took that every day. I figured, great, join the old people's club. I got to take a pill a day every day. And then I started getting on ASEA, and I thought, you know what? I ran it by my doctor. I said, look, I don't want to take this stuff anymore, this Synthroid anymore. I said, so I don't want to take it anymore. So he goes, well,
While she's frozen,
Yeah,
I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that you cannot, okay.
hey, guys, can you mute out your thing? So anyway, long story short, he did blood work and my thyroid is completely regenerated. I'm not making a medical claim. I'm just saying how coincidental it is that I'm drinking this stuff and I no longer need Synthroid, and I get my thyroid checked every year during my physical, and it's in perfect health. My doctor actually called me and said, I can't believe your thyroid is 100% regenerated. It just blew his mind. So anyway, I have stories all day, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So yes, you have a question. You're muted. Wait.
Don's muted.
Wait,
But I wanted you to share a little bit about how we can use the liquid ASEA in a nebulizer or a mister, and how it's really been beneficial to use in the eyes, ears, and actually inhale it. If we have any.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, I could sit here and talk for like half a day about this. And so just refresh my memory if I forget something. But yes, since it is native to the body and it's made from salt water, you can give it anywhere in your body. You can take an enema with it. You can spray it in your eyes. There's a facial mister that you can get on Amazon. But make sure it's doesn't have metal in it. I think it'll say mesh. And you can put the steam in your eyes. You can actually inhale it with a nebulizer. Say, for example, if you've got a breathing disorder that requires respiratory treatments, because what these molecules do is they get straight to the source, which is awesome. And people that have really bad terminal things going on in their lungs are also seeing some benefit. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a cure, but you know, everybody's going to experience something different, but it can benefit you. So yeah, you could put it in your eyes, your lungs, your ears, you know. So yeah, children too, which is great. Thank you for refreshing my memory.
Amy, can you, maybe address the new Redox Gold?
Yes. So the Redox Gold came out a year ago, just a little over a year ago. If you could mute yourself, guys.
Oh, we're not meeting.
Hey, Don, mute yourself. Thank you. The Redox Gold came out a year ago in January, and Bob's gonna show the tube of that because I didn't bring all my stuff. It's a blue tube. Thank you, Bob. It's got, you're great. It's got 24 flecks of 24 karat gold, and it targets the inflammatory pathways, which we kind of felt that the Renew 28 and the white tube did, but they discovered that this was way more effective. I have seen amazing things with the gold. I personally have a neck issue just from, you know, my spine being not the healthiest from being a nurse all those years. And I rub that stuff on my neck and the discomfort goes away literally within 10 minutes. So it's funny because Dr. Silverman's made a sheet of paper called Test on 10, and where you go out and you find 10 people, ask them if they're hurting, and try the gold. And right there, when they see what this stuff does, they're like, wow, I've been working on this for years and nothing has helped. And that grabs their attention. When people see that they can have a perceived benefit, it definitely piques their interest. And it's so easy to share because people want to feel good, but they don't want to support big pharma and trash their bodies and their kidneys and their liver with medications. So yeah, the Redox Gold was a game changer for sure. Thanks, Linda. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I've kept you guys long enough.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Wait,
Amy, thanks for sharing your story. You too, Bob.
You have
One more
another question?
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it's Joanne again. And I have a brother that wanted to come to the meeting today, but his wife is so bad with cancer that he's not able to be here. But she usually would get vitamin C infusions to make her strong enough to take the chemo. And now her veins are so small, they cannot get a needle inserted in there to do that. Is she too late to try this?
It's never too late. It's never too late. And of course, we're not going to make medical claims, but what I will say, you know, if she's progressed in her illness, which it sounds like she is, I don't know what it would do to her. So I can't say that it will help her. But what I can say is that she may get a comfort benefit from it. So what you can do, if say, for example, she can't swallow, you can take the Renew 28, the one in the white tube, and you can rub it over her vagus nerve on her neck. I would do that every hour, honestly, and that gets throughout her whole bloodstream. So if she's not able to swallow, you can put the gel on her neck. We've seen pretty crazy results, even with people's knee discomfort, just by putting the gel on the neck. So, you know, let's look at it as comfort for her. And if something better happens, then that's even greater.
Okay, thank you.
I will keep her in my prayers.
all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate you. And thank you, Amy and Bob, for sharing your story.
Thanks,
No
guys.
problem, Joe.
All right, everybody, take care of yourselves.
Bye-bye.